hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. Hey, Nicole, I see you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you as always. Well, tonight we have a topic that may be a little bit controversial. Your girl is a baby boomer, but I still sometimes walk through these social media streets, and sometimes I see stuff that kind of piques my interest and raises questions for me that I want to have a deeper conversation about. And I have my own thoughts and feelings about it, but I always like to touch base with others to see what their thoughts are, how they're feeling about some of this stuff that is happening out in these social media streets. It's hard not to walk those social media streets. I know sometimes I say I'm not going to walk them too much, but then I find myself strolling down the social media streets. So, I have four people with me tonight who they're not only individuals whose opinions that I trust and respect, but they are very deep thinking and very thoughtful individuals who I believe will bring a great deal to bear on this particular topic. So, what you talking about, Val? Yeah, I'm talking about this. I have seen on the social media streets talking about the feminization of men in general and black men in particular. And since I am a black woman, I am limiting the conversation to black men because I happen to be a black woman and I'm the mother of two black sons and I'm married to a black man. But anywho, let me bring on the individuals that I have with me on tonight. I am going to bring them on. I'm going to bring them all on at the same time, and I'm going to have each one talk a little bit about themselves and introduce themselves and talk about what's going on in their lives. Okay, there. Okay, we all fit. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey,
So, those of you who have been with us before, everyone here is going to be familiar to you. And tonight it's all family. I am going to start with my baby sister, Jacqueline Vernice Lawrence.
oh
Uh,
Lord,
Oh, the whole
Mm-mm.
government.
the
Mm-mm.
whole name.
I said her whole government name. So, hey, sis.
Hey sis, hello family, hi everyone.
Hello.
Thank you
Oh,
for joining us tonight. As Val said, I am her baby sister, and I'm just ready to get into this topic. I'm sure it's going to be a heavy hitter tonight.
okay. Next is my handsome, industrious, fantabulous nephew, none other than Rock. Hey, Rock.
Hey, Auntie, how you feeling? Hey, everybody.
Hello.
So, Rock is actually on his way back home. I didn't realize that the church he attends also has a location in Bensalem. So I'm going to be checking it
Huh.
out.
Uh,
So
yeah.
what's the church, Rock? Tell folks about the church.
So the church that I go to is Love Fellowship Tabernacle, where Bishop Hezekiah Walker is my bishop. I am on his security detail, so I am currently on the way back home. Sometimes we run over a little bit. I didn't expect to be in the car this evening, but nevertheless, I wanted to be here, so here I am.
Thank you. And I appreciate you taking the time out to do that. And when you're in
Absolutely.
church, you got to let the Holy Ghost do what it do. And sometimes
You do it. You let it do what it do. You let it do
you
what
let
it
the
do, and you
Holy
can't force it.
Ghost.
You
That's
can't rush
right.
it. It's
Can't
got to be
rush it.
present.
Absolutely, absolutely. So next is my baby boy, my youngest, my third and last born, none other than Jonathan Warren Chase Esquire. Hey,
Hello.
Oh,
The whole government name. You gotta stop with that. Well, you want to introduce myself? You already
Yeah,
did my name.
yeah.
A little
What do
bit
you want?
about myself. I'm an attorney, father of two, happily married, and obviously I'm a black man, so I think I can speak to the subject quite a bit. Um, I consider myself to be quite masculine too, so that'll be interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Freaking lootly.
Absolutely.
So my firstborn, so just FYI, she stepped off camera for a minute because not only is she a cat mother, she's babysitting a gazillion cats over there. I don't know why her and Rico love cats so much, but they do. So she said she had to go feed them cats, and I see somebody's face, and that ain't my daughter. Who you is? I don't know who that is.
She said she had to give the cat back to its owner. So the
Oh,
person you see is probably the cat parent.
the cat parent. Okay, but
Hmm.
anywho, when she comes back on, she will have something to say about herself. So, what we're talking about tonight, the feminization of black men. So, I want to start off by asking you all, when you hear that phrase, the feminization of black men, what does it conjure up in your mind, and what might it mean to you on a personal level? And anybody could go first. Don't try to be all polite.
I'll I'll um I'll
Uh-huh.
jump in if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, baby.
So I think two things. Well, one big thing. I think it's a sign or a discussion of a bigger issue, and that is the feminization to some extent of all men, and not just black men.
Hmm.
And I think personally, I think what it means to me is like over the last maybe 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years, that might be stretching it. There a lot of different social and political causes have sort of coalesced, and
Hmm.
one of the end results of that is this idea that men should be less masculine, or that if you are too masculine, you cross the line and becoming toxic. And I think that the conversation that ends up happening is a lot of man bashing, a lot of telling men to ignore and shut off your natural instincts,
Hmm.
um, and to some extent be more feminine. It doesn't always, I don't think it always ends itself telling men to be more feminine, but it's more like just be less masculine, be less of a man, because it's,
Mm,
some people say it's even dangerous these days. I don't agree with that, but I think sometimes that's the discussion that people get into, is that
mhm.
being too masculine is somehow harmful to everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else who
Uh,
wants to
I,
step in, you
I,
can step in.
I, I have two different points of view. On one hand, um, a lot of men in my generation were raised by women. Not a lot of fathers in the home, so we
Mm,
tend to have a lot of men, air quote, who have a lot of women traits.
mm, mhm, mhm,
And another way, my second way is, funny enough, it was introduced to me by an Asian man who was a clothing wholesaler who I used to frequent when I used to travel for work. I used to visit him, on a weekly basis, get fresh new clothes and, take my flight and go on, whatever tour I was going on. But he brought it to my attention that I went to his store recently and I was looking around because I hadn't been there in, some time. And I noticed that the entire store wasn't my style. You know,
mm,
a lot of uh, feminine colors. Like the pink, the hot pink, the
mhm,
jeggings.
mhm.
Um, like these type of things. So he noticed me looking. He noticed me looking. He said, "Yeah, nothing here's for you, right?" I said, "No." He said, "Yeah, it's designed that way."
Mm,
I was taken back because this is coming from an Asian man who's telling me, who sells clothes for black culture,
yeah.
which honestly enough, he had a little more insight on the clothing per se because that's his field and his customer base is black. It's always been black for years. And he
Mm,
said, "Yeah, I believe it's designed that way. It's designed that way to keep black men in a certain space. And funny enough, what you wear matters.
Mm-hmm.
Which you wear
Mm-hmm.
matters. You have a lot of young men wearing purses, and they're calling it bags.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bag. It's a purse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a purse.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's interesting. It's interesting to see, and it's interesting the characteristics of men. I agree with John, who are not. If you seem over masculine, it's considered a toxic trait. I do agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Jack, did you want to add anything?
Not much. Just what I agree with what Jonathan and Rock said, and what I thought about. The angry black woman, men who are
Mm-hmm.
masculine are considered angry black men, right? They have a
Mm-hmm.
chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
They're dangerous, and I just
Mm-hmm.
think that that is such a misconception
Yeah.
that I would like to see done away with.
Yeah. Okay. Sadell, my firstborn.
Sorry, y'all. I had to return a cat.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we were discussing when you, what comes up in your mind when you hear the feminization of black men, or what do you think of it personally?
Well, it's funny because when you asked me to be on this broadcast and you told me what the topic was, my first question was, well, what that mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you define it? Like honestly, like what does that entail? So I mean, I get the question, but I think the whole reason I wanted to be on this was just to hear more insight and input from everyone else to see what everyone's kind of definition of it was. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, not being a black male, I don't have that insight as to what it means to be a man. Being part of the gay community, I may have a different perception of what it means
Mm-hmm.
to be, feminized. So, just for me,
Yeah.
it's just kind of getting more information as to what the broader definition of that is. So, in my mind,
Yeah.
it's like really making someone out to be a female, like, lipstick, high heels, that kind of thing. Like, is it just that on a surface level, or does it go beyond that? Like, that would be my question,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Okay. And I just listening to what has been shared so far. The first word that comes to my mind is balance, because there just seems to be difficulty in our culture with I mean the American culture at whole, and with us as people of color specifically, with balance, because it seems as if you're either engaged in toxic masculinity or you're overly feminine. But why does it have to be
One
one
or the
or the
other.
other? Why couldn't there be a healthy balance where a man can be as masculine as he chooses to be and was born to be, and it not be toxic? And that's the struggle for me, because I like balance, everything in the middle. And I believe that most of our lives is lived not in the black or the white, but in the gray, because I think that's a healthy place to be in. So you're not on one extreme or the other. Um, so if there are these stereotypes about masculinity in general and black masculinity specifically, how might that impact romantic relationships? Whether, and this is key, whether it is a heterosexual relationship or a non-heterosexual relationship. How might that impact it?
Hmm.
I've never been in a non-heterosexual situation,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, in my household, um, because I am a masculine man, I can't take the back seat to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm the head, and my wife treats me as the head. And a lot of responsibility comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't. I grew up in a sense where you can't be a punk and be the head of a household.
Yeah.
It just doesn't go hand in hand. Like a man who don't work don't eat. Um,
That's
my
Bible now.
wife,
Yeah. That's Bible.
my
Mhm.
yeah, my wife has to respect that I will, put myself in harm's way before it happens to her or my family.
Hmm.
My mentality is always we will never be on the street. Again, that's a I mean, not a heterosexual mind, but that is a masculine
Yeah.
mindset.
Right.
And yeah, it will never allow me to play the back seat to anything.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's interesting that you said that is a masculine mindset, but there are gay men who also have that
Have
same
that same
masculine
mindset.
mindset.
Yes.
That even though they are not engaged in a heterosexual relationship, they are extremely masculine, and they present as masculine, and they sometimes prefer a partner who is less masculine. So that kind of almost male, female, feminine, masculine dynamic exists even in those relationships. At least that's what I've seen. So I don't know what you all have experience in terms of viewing that. But Sadell, is that something that maybe you could speak to?
I mean, yeah, I've seen it where it's exactly like you said, where one is the more masculine presenting type, but I mean, I've also seen it where they both may be, masculine presenting. I think the whole
Mm,
masculinity thing is more of a, like Rob said, a mindset, as
mhm,
opposed to it influences or directly influences your sexual preference. Like you can be
mm,
either heterosexual or homosexual and still have that same mindset as to, this is my household. I'm working. I'm gonna make sure that the bills are paid. That we all eat. I'm gonna
mhm,
put myself in harm's way before anyone else. But so
mhm.
that in and of itself is a mindset, not directly correlated to necessarily sexual preference. So, but like
Yeah.
I said, I've seen it where there's two really like masculine presenting men, and honestly, you couldn't tell, for lack of a better word, who's the man and who's the woman. Or
Right.
I've seen it
Right.
where, yes, like you said, some masculine men do prefer more, slightly more feminine men
Mhm,
to be with.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. I want to. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Because if not, I
What
want to.
what was
I
the
actually had a question really
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
concerns of like the gay. I'm pretty sure that Fidel can speak to. What's the proper term for the women who are like strong?
Masculine.
Well, it depends
Mas-
on what generation you're from, and,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, and that's not being,
it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
it is, because
Yeah.
back in my mom's days, they would be called like bull daggers,
They were called bull daggers
So
or
back
all
they'd
then.
right,
be bitch.
Yeah.
what is the
So
modern
now it's
term?
just
I don't
kind
want
of
to
like
offend nobody. Is it
they
AG?
AGs, aggressive,
Okay. Is
studs.
that
Those are
Okay,
kind of the
stud,
more,
stud. That's the
yeah,
one I'm familiar with, stud. Because I know
yes.
they take all the 2X underwear and T-shirts and they get on my nerves. But them, right? Why is it that why it why do we never see two AGs together?
Well,
I've never
you,
seen it.
I absolutely,
AGs
I
like
have.
like feminized women. You seen two
I've actually
AGs together?
seen that. Is it? It's probably the rarest pairing.
rare? Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
and
okay.
I'll take a step back. I'll say maybe 10 years ago it might have been a more rarer sighting than now, because as a society, I hope that we've gone outside of just you're either gay, you're straight,
Hmm.
you're a femme, you're a stud, and like mom said, living in the black and white. Like you can have that in the gray, in the middle type thing. So I have personally seen where there have been two masculine presenting females together. um it's not something that is seen as often. Yes, you are correct, but it does happen.
So
And I
and
think
the
I
reason
think
why
part of it comes down to, because even in our community, we're so conditioned that somebody has to be the man, somebody has to be the woman.
Right.
So even like the studs who present as studs on the outside, when they come home, they might be a whole bitch, for lack of a better phrase. They I don't know how to really break it down, but as a society, it's so black and white. There has to be a male or a male figure and a female or a female figure, whether that's in a gay or straight relationship. So they feel like they have to take on that role,
Mm-hmm.
at least presenting to the outside world.
Mm. Okay. John, you were about to say something.
I
Yeah,
got
your question was how the idea of masculinity impacts relationships, heterosexual or
Yeah.
otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like Rock. I can only speak to heterosexual relationships, but I think the issue that I see often, whether it's social media or whatever, is that a lot of women recently that have been come to speak negatively of masculinity, they think they want a man who's less masculine. And if you settle down with that type of man, eventually you will grow to resent him if he's not masculine enough. And I don't think people will say, my man is not masculine, that's why I resent him, but it will manifest itself in various different ways, I think. So I think the default setting in heterosexual relationships or even most relationships, period, is that there's going to be some dichotomy between masculine and feminine. And if
Mm-hmm.
the parties involved don't default to their quote unquote natural setting, that can
Mm-hmm.
cause some friction. That's what I believe. So if I'm acting too feminine and my girl, my wife, she wants me to be more masculine, she might resent me for that. And vice versa. I want my
Yeah.
woman to be very feminine. If she's not feminine and she has a lot of masculine traits, eventually we're going to butt heads. So
Right.
I think that's a lot of the problem is that men have been conditioned to be less masculine. Women have been told to avoid toxic masculinity, and these people settle down with each other, and eventually they realize that this is a problem. That the man is not masculine enough, the woman resents him for it, and then can I curse here? I don't know. Shit hits the fan is what I want to say. I don't know. I don't want to get you banned off YouTube, but that's eventually what happens. It manifests itself in so many different ways um, that you don't even realize they're happening.
Yeah. That's a great point,
Makes
John.
sense.
Yeah. That is. Jackie, were you saying something?
No, I was just saying, yes, that is a very good point, Jonathan.
Yeah. I want to back up a little bit because I want to address a word that you used, and the word is punk. What
Mm-hmm.
does that mean?
What is a punk?
Mm-hmm.
A punk is somebody who's always willing to to play the background, never willing to uh, take chances, never willing to um, be, if confronted, he backs down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, a lot of people have their definitions. That's one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's hard for me. If in the event, for example, if my family is threatened in any way, um, I have to arrive. I have to, pull up to that situation, and I have to handle it, even if it costs
Yeah.
me my life. But you have
Mm-hmm.
punks who won't do that. They'll, a man will slap their woman in the face, and he'll say, "Don't do that." In my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I'm like, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't have that in me. I didn't grow up with it. I wasn't taught that.
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, I just don't have that.
Okay. I get you on that because if me and the cookie man are out and a brother steps to me like that, I expect my husband to open up a
Yes.
huge can of whoop ass.
And
Yes.
he will.
Yes, and he will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've done it. I've done it to a group of men. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? When me and my grandmother was walking down the street, and they were cussing like it was, like they had no home training, which they probably didn't. I don't know, but
mhm,
you're not going to do it around her,
mm,
you know. And I
mhm.
find that a lot of men today are afraid of children, which I understand. Kids today are they're wild. They'll pull a gun or whatever. These things, but I don't have the spirit of fear like most people.
Mhm,
I trust
mhm.
God, and I lead again. I lead, And a lot of these young men and knuckleheads, a lot of times they'll fold.
Mm.
A lot of times they'll fold, and they're respected if you come in a respectful manner. Like,
Hmm.
yo, you didn't see my grandmother walking past. Like, don't do that. I wouldn't do it to your mother. Oh, my fault, OG. Now I'm an OG. I don't know where that happened. I don't know where that happens. When
Yeah.
I'm OG, now hey. But when I presented, when sometimes I can't. I just don't have that spirit of fear where I'm just gonna allow somebody to walk all over me or all over my family or whomever I love and I'm with.
Yeah.
So it's a respect thing, and punks don't get respect.
Mm.
Mm. I agree with you on that, brother. Um, thinking about black men, masculinity, feminization, and all that, I can't help but think how, in a way, historically, it's kind of almost full circle because when you think about the history of us in this country, during slavery time, black men were not allowed to be masculine. Their
Mhm.
masculine, they were stripped of their
Mhm.
masculinity. Their masculinity was punished if it showed up at all. They couldn't protect their wife, their children. They couldn't do any of that. They couldn't assert themselves at all. They couldn't defend themselves or their family. And then kind of you had a shifting of that throughout history, and it almost was as if now there's this freedom to be more masculine. So now, if we're talking about feminization, have we now come full circle?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Mm,
It is.
mm. Well, I mean, history does repeat itself.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of, I mean, when you say what history point are we talking about? During slavery?
Well, during slavery, men were completely emasculated. They were not able to be masculine. And then, you had the Jim Crow era, and then you had the
Yeah.
70s. I would say, I think men, from my perspective,
Mm.
as a woman who was born in the 50s, became more masculine, so to speak, and able to exert themselves more. I believe they came into that more starting in the 70s.
So
So
I have a
I had to
question.
ask. I had. I'm sorry. I had to ask what year point because
Hmm.
we had so many so many different year points that we had to deal with this same issue over and over again. Which
Hmm.
again, why I said history repeats itself.
Yeah.
I mean, at a time where it was slavery, they literally cut off black man's manhood
Right.
because
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, their manhoods were smaller,
Mhm.
and they thought that black men were utilizing their tools and that represented masculinity to them.
To them.
So
Right.
they felt if they stripped it from you and they cut it off, then they took away your manhood. Well, I mean, again, manhood is a mentality.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, um, so yeah, that's a very. I'm just sitting here thinking that I'm thinking of you saying it, and I'm thinking like, well, since slavery and then coming year after year after year, every 10 years, we've dealt with the same thing.
Right. But I think starting in the 70s, I think, at least from my observation, I think there was a sense of black men exuding more masculinity. Late 60s into the 70s, because you've got the Black Power
Black
movement, you got the
Panthers
Black
and
Panthers.
hmm
You started to have
Superfly.
Superfly. You had, what was his name, Shaft, and
Shaft.
all of these things were starting to happen. And I think that black men were more able to have their masculinity more on display as opposed to before. Because even in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and into the 60s, there was a fear, concern for being killed or lynched if you were too masculine, because then you were considered uppity and not in your place. And I think there was a shift of that starting in late 60s, early 70s up until now. And it almost seems like there's this so called respectability politics where there's this idea that you can't be too masculine because now there's danger associated with it again. And like you said, Rock, it's like it's as if history is repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mom, your question was have we come full circle,
Mm,
and pretty much in a circle you end up back where you started, right? Visually
Mhm.
speaking, I don't think have done that because as much as the system, so to speak, tries to keep masculinity down from black men and everybody else,
mhm,
we're not subject to the same punishment. We can still break away from that. So
mhm.
if you're watching
Yeah.
social media, the news, movies, TV, whatever, and you're getting this attack on your masculinity,
Mhm.
there's no actual punishment for rebelling against that. You're not going to get your manhood chopped off. Certain sectors might try to cancel you or shun you or whatever, but
Right.
forget them. The people who matter, the
Mm,
people who respect that will still revolve around you. You're not limited. And nowadays with the internet, you can still get your message out. You're not there's fewer barriers to entry. So you can be an exceedingly masculine man and still get your message out there, still reach like-minded people and still find your people, your tribe, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
So you're not going to be held back as much as you were 60, 70, or 100 years ago.
Mm. That's a good point. Absolutely. Go ahead, Sidel.
Uh,
So my question is this: is emasculation and feminization the same thing?
Right.
I
And
don't
Would
I
they're
you?
don't
not.
think
I
so.
mean,
They're
I
not.
don't consider it the same thing.
Right.
No.
So just
It's
because
not.
somebody's being emasculated does not necessarily mean that they are now being turned into quote unquote a woman. Yes, they
Mm-hmm.
may be, stripped of their manhood
Mhm.
figuratively or literally, but I don't think that necessarily translates into them being
Feminine.
feminized. So I just want to see if
who,
everybody else
who,
Right.
who said
feels
that?
that there's two different definitions.
Who said that?
Yeah. Hmm?
Huh?
Who said that?
No, but the way my question was phrased could lead one to make that
Okay,
association.
got
So
you. Got you.
I get where she's coming from. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
it
were
is.
saying how like back in slave days, obviously,
Hmm.
their manhood was chopped off and all of that. So I'm 100% on board. I get all of that with you guys, but
Right.
I'm just asking, like, do we all agree that they're not the same thing? Like
They're not the
it's two
same
different.
thing.
They're
No,
not.
no,
Mm-hmm.
they're not the same thing. No,
Okay.
no, they're
Right.
not the same
But it's the idea of a man not being able to assert his masculinity. And,
Okay.
as you said, there is a distinction between emasculization and feminization. But even with emasculization, a man can't fully be a man as we understand
Right. Right. Right.
maleness and masculinity. Yeah, they were deprived of that. So let's look at this. What is this generation now? The young folks, are they alpha, beta, gamma? I don't
Dumb.
know
That's
what
what
the
they
hell.
are. Dumb.
Duh. No, I
I
think
think
it's
I think
it's
we're at
past
Gen
Gen
Z.
Alpha. I think it's Gen Beta at this point.
Yeah, the
Okay,
Gen Z is like in their 20s. Gen Alpha is like
Yeah.
15 ish.
okay. So let's talk
So,
about the alphas or younger, because I don't know what the younger than alphas would be called. So what message do you think should be provided to boys and girls about masculinity as they are starting to grow and mature and develop?
I just keep looking at these purses that these dudes be wearing, and I'm just like, damn, that's a purse. No, it's a man bag.
We call it a
No, it's
man
a
bag,
purse.
yeah. Mhm.
It's a purse. They what is not Ferragamo. It starts with an F, and I just see a lot of men walking around with these purses, and they're trying to masculine an item.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
They'll wear a dress and they'll call it fashion. No,
I
fam, you
think that
wearing a
no, no,
dress.
I think that's over the top.
You wearing a dress.
unless, unless they're Irish or Scottish and they're wearing a kilt, that's a different thing.
They're
But
black.
yeah, but
They're
to wear
they're
a
black
dress,
and they're wearing skirts. And I'm just
yeah,
like, I don't, and they want to call it fashion, and
mm,
I'm just like, it's it's not even fashionable because you're not Irish or you're not Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
You're not even African. How about that? I don't want to displace our African culture for men. But they don't even call them dresses. They call them something else. I don't know what it's called, but they call it
yeah,
something else. It's not a
yeah.
dress.
And they
So
usually have pants on under it, Rock.
Right.
that's true.
What I want to add, Mom, is you're asking what message should be delivered to the youth, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think before you get to the message, you have to have the right messenger. And I
Ah,
think
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to masculinity, how to become and grow into a man, what young boys need first, they need somebody to show them the way, like an elder or somebody older, whether it's an actual adult or an older man that
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm,
has done what you're trying to do that can show you the way. And
mm,
then you need to also be surrounded by people who are trying to walk the same road you are. So you need elders and you need peers, and
Mm-hmm.
they all have to have. Not that I don't think they have to have, but the elders certainly have to be strong masculine men if they're going to show you how to be a strong masculine man.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
young people you surround yourself with have to be on the same or a similar path as you. And then you can sort of follow that elder and you have people to push you and carry you and help you along the way. And personally, I think the best route to get there is competitive team sports. I think
Mm,
I think both men and women can benefit from it, but simply from a standpoint
1000%.
of learning how to become a masculine man, if you have, let's say you're a freshman on the JV football team and you're trying to get big and strong and accomplish a certain goal, it's not about the goal you're trying to accomplish. It's about walking the steps to get there. And the people that are already there can show you this is how I got here. Do this,
mm,
practice this hard, train like this, study in school like this, so you can actually still stay eligible for the team, things like that. And then you have your coaches who can actually train
Very
you.
different, cuz it's very
I
different
know.
now. Cuz
I know.
we
I
we
know.
we we both we both come from football, right? You
Exactly.
have like I work with a lot of the teens and your teen young men in my church. We have a
Hmm.
group called the Forge. A lot of my young men they play football and they have a problem with the coach, which is weird to us.
Hmm.
When the coach yell at you or scream at you, and these dudes be catching attitudes and
mm,
want to quit the team. And I'm like, what? I said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. When
Hmm.
coach get at you, is it because he wants you to be better?
Mm-hmm.
He
Exactly.
wants you to listen. He wants you to focus, and it helps you grow in your character, your sport, and your challenges.
mm,
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
these young men today is so different. And it's like
yeah,
you got the coach coming at you, and now I gotta kind of try to figure out how to uh, uh, get you to understand why he's like that. It's a whole psychological game now,
Right.
which is
mm,
weird, bro. You know, we had
Right. Yeah.
coaches. I had my coach screamed at me because I
Hmm.
messed up on a play, and I had to take it. And I'm like, yes, coach, I take it.
Hmm.
Now
Listen, I'm the
today,
Right.
same way with
very
my martial
different.
arts. I'm a 43-year-old woman, but if my sensei says something, ooh, sensei, because
Yes,
Exactly.
we were that starts at home. We were taught that level of
Respect.
respect for
Mm-hmm.
your elders, respect for a person in a
not
position
that
of
way
authority.
anymore.
Like you can have questions and all that, but in that moment, yes, sir, no, ma'am. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
these
yeah.
kids
It's not that
nowadays
way.
don't have that.
Wow.
People are so. These kids are. These young men
It's
are
soft.
so easily offended.
Yeah.
They're
Yes.
soft. They're soft. And the thing, again, I'm just one man, but me and my brothers, we try to change the culture of that. When they
Mm,
come into the church, you got to speak. And when you speak, you got to speak up. Because I
right.
always
Mm-hmm.
tell them, I want to see your presence. I don't want you to just be in the building. I want you to have a presence. So when you meet me,
Mm,
you speak to me, give me a firm handshake, and say good morning.
yeah,
Be a present.
yeah.
Like it's so much of a struggle. And please hear my heart. I love these, all these young brothers. I'm not afraid of none of them, but I try my best to put them in a position that I
Mhm.
don't want them to fall in the cracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
try to, but it's such a psychological battle with these kids today. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Mm-hmm.
So
It is.
it's
there's
bad.
a
So
there's a shift.
that's why this topic is so on point because it's a battle. It's a heavy
Yeah.
battle right now.
So it almost sounds as if what you're fighting against, using that reference of a battle, you're fighting against the home training that they've had.
It's the home trade, but a lot of these young men, and not even just their generation. It was my generation too,
Yeah, and what they're
and
exposed
and
to.
you guys. And
Yeah.
you guys' generation, I mean, the father may have had a second family, but he was home. In my generation, he was home on the weekend, or he came home later that night. Your brothers and sisters might be around the corner, but
You
but
funny.
in
Wow.
my generation, a lot of the fathers left. A
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
lot of the fathers left, and they didn't. Even if you leave, like come get me on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take me
Mhm.
somewhere. Take me to a game. Take me. If you don't have the money, play a game with me. Give me
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of these fathers, your kids don't care nothing about money. They care about time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Right.
got to, when you
Mhm.
take away the money and the time, they don't have a father.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's
And
nothing.
that leads
You
to
know,
the struggle that Rock faces with his young man, because it's like, if my father didn't give a damn about me,
Mm-hmm.
who's this old man, who's my coach, my mentor, whatever, how can I believe that you care about me? Like, you don't know me from a hole in the wall. So
Mm-hmm.
there, that lends to the constant struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
yeah.
That's very true.
When the coach speaks to you, it doesn't sound like a criticism. It sounds like a criticism on them.
Mm,
Hmm.
It sounds like an offense.
right.
Yes.
It's not an
They
offense.
they feel
It's me
personally attacked.
correcting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We supposed to lead, like when you're supposed to get correction, you're supposed to
Hmm.
follow through and make it happen. No, it's an offense. So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
when they get offended with the coach, and so now you have two men who have to, instead of one, who have to kind of bring you back into reality.
Wow.
It's
And I'm glad you also mentioned the handshake because listen, I'm a woman and I cannot stand when I shake somebody's hand and they give me this little weak thing, especially if it's a man. No, teach these brothers how to
Mm-hmm.
have a real handshake.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want a fist bump. Don't give me no pound. Shake my hand.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
Yes,
look me in the face when you do it.
there you
Look me
go.
in the face. That's what we do. We every morning,
Hmm.
me and at least three of my brothers, we stand outside and we greet everybody who's coming in the building. Also, we
Hmm.
sizing them up because you don't know who's who. But the young men, we
Hmm.
make sure that when you pass, you speak to everybody,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
every man you see, you speak to him, you shake your hand, and I always tell them, you look me in my face. Look me
Yeah.
in my face, shake my hand, so you know, and I want you to be a presence. I don't want you just
Hmm.
to be around.
Right. Right.
I want people to know that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk into a building, you become a stamp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and
Mm-hmm.
they understand that. So
Yeah.
every time they walk in the building, I mean, we got basketball players, football players, we got mama's boys, we got them all. We
Hmm.
got them all. But every one of them, when they cross me, whatever you do after this, I pray that they take it with them. But when you come here, you're gonna shake my hand and you're gonna speak.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask your thoughts on this. Do you think that our society at large benefits from emotionally healed and healthy black men, or is society threatened by them? And whatever your response is, why do you think that is?
What do you mean by emotionally healed?
Emotionally healthy,
So,
who a black man who knows, who possesses emotional intelligence, who knows how to manage his own emotions, who is able to navigate a healthy relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, a work relationship. That's what I would characterize as a healthy man.
gotcha. I think society at large is clearly going to benefit from that because what you described is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So the more good people you have, the better society is. I'm sure there are certain sectors of society that may feel threatened by
Correct.
any black man, period, let alone one who's emotionally intelligent or intelligent
Yeah,
otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if somebody is a good person, emotionally, etc., that's nothing but good for society. But I think part of the issue is that we conflate being emotional sometimes with being feminine.
right.
Yes.
Men have emotions, and we're all human beings. Some of the most emotional people I've known are the men in my family, including myself. But as a man, you might express your emotions differently. You process them differently. You address them, verbalize them differently. I might not speak on it in the moment, and you might say, "Yo, what's wrong? I don't want to talk about it right now. I don't want to talk about it here, right now, or with you."
Right.
And you might take that as me being not emotionally intelligent. But men, like I said, we deal with our emotions differently. Sometimes it can be dealt with in unhealthy ways, and not verbalizing it can cause friction with everybody. But at the end of the day, though,
I disagree with
I think
a little part of what you said. You said saying
which
no,
one?
saying that I don't want to talk about it now here or with you. Somebody might interpret that as being emotionally well. Me personally, I think that's emotionally intelligent because you're able to
It is, yes.
verbalize. Yes, there's something wrong. I don't want to talk about it right now. You could easily nah, I'm good, and just shut it down and
But
not say anything.
sometimes we might not say I don't want to talk about it right here, right now. We might just say I'm good. And if we say I'm good, leave us the hell alone. We'll bring it up when we're ready.
Mhm.
you know.
See now,
but
one
but
as a mental health care professional, that I have an issue with because
I do too.
it can come
Yes, because you're
across
not good.
as non-communicative and disingenuous because you're not
Mm-hmm.
really good. And in the in
mhm.
the in the realm of effective communication, communicate that to your partner. It's okay to say, listen, this is not a good time. I don't want to talk about it right now. I need to process this. I need to think about it, and we could come back to it later. To me, that is a more of a display of a healthy, effective communication. Because if you say I'm good and you're not good, and your partner
Especially to
believes that you
somebody
are
who
good,
knows you and knows you're
right?
not good, because then
But it knows you're not
now
good.
it's like
Yes.
not
Yeah.
only is something wrong, now he's lying. So so yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm definitely going to say, um, I have friends, male friends who are emotional, but you would not classify them as feminine. Val knows who I'm talking about. One of my brothers,
I love,
I
I
love
love,
him
I love his
dearly.
heart, though. I love
He
his heart.
his heart is big. He gets very emotional, but you would not have a feminization from him.
Right.
But I mean, I do agree with John, but again, like Aunt Val said, I'm big on communication because I never used to deal with things,
Mm.
and I used to always, take these things. I was a I'm good person, take it, you bury it, but the problem is those problems never go away.
Right.
Correct.
Mhm.
When you just leave it with a I'm good, you still dealing with the issue, but you're internalizing it, and somewhere along the line, it's going to affect you more later down the line.
Right.
Mhm.
I'd rather talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out, and let's move on.
I hear
Mm-hmm.
you. Absolutely. Jack, let me hear from you. What is your input in all of this
Well,
we've said?
as Jonathan and Sadell and Rock were talking, of course, I thought about my oldest grandson, right?
Mhm.
Whose father has not been present in his life. And so, one of the concerns that we've had is his anger towards his father and being able to express it. And so, Rock, I have to take my hat off to you um, for the impression and the leadership role that you're taking with young men. Shamel is fortunate enough to be a part of a church where they have a men group
Mhm.
that coaches the young men, and he was fortunate
Yeah.
enough to go to the Steve Harvey camp recently because of
Right.
this men group in church. And so his emotional him being emotional healthy is being able to see other men who are emotional healthy walk through that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so this whole conversation has me thinking solely about him because the hurt's there. And when we ask him, well, Shamel, are you okay? That's what he says, I'm good. But now he's starting to express it. It may not be today,
Yeah.
and he may not articulate, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about it right now. He may just
Mhm.
say, I'm good. But because the tools are being given to him,
Yeah.
he can now, come back at a later date and say, well, I'm ready to talk about it now.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's
I,
learning.
You know, a lot of times we're carrying things we're not meant to carry.
yes.
And because I was a young man like him who was very angry, I never, my personality and my character has always been that. I've always been cool and nice, but one thing, if you did something to tick me off, I see red,
Mhm.
right? And I used to be that way.
Mhm.
And I never realized that I had daddy issues.
Yeah.
Didn't know, yeah, because I'm so used to suppressing
Hmm.
Mhm.
suppressing my emotions, suppressing my feelings, suppressing my dad's disappointments. And I had no idea that I carried those things for up to 33 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
33 years till I had a breakthrough with my dad. And that's because I promised God, I said, if he helped me in a situation, I'll forgive him for everything that he's never done. And I
Mm.
kept my promise. And ever since that, I had my breakthrough. I cried for 2 hours.
Wow.
And those who know, I'm not a crier. I cried for 2 hours, and I just felt like this, uh, I, these rocks that I was carrying for so long just released off my back. So I guess that's why my tears were flowing for so long, because I just didn't, I always suppress
Mm.
every
Mhm.
problem, anything that I ever deal with, and a lot of it I also relinquished to my faith.
Mhm. Mhm.
But here's the problem: those things still never go away
Right.
unless you deal with them.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I pray that Shemel will really, I don't want him to wait as long as I did, and perhaps me and him can talk about that. But sometimes your father's failures are detrimental to these young black men,
Yes.
but you're not meant to carry it all your life.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. But yeah, the men that he surrounded, or that have surrounded him, um, it's definitely helping. It's
Yeah.
definitely helping. And so the whole masculine, Shamel think the boy don't know, but he think he a tough guy. Sometimes Shamel wear his heart on his sleeve, but it's okay, right? Like we allow him to be who he is, right?
Mhm.
If you want to cry, cry. It's okay. It's
Right.
Right.
it's okay
Yeah.
because
Right.
that is emotional intelligence. At 18 years old, he's able to express himself the way that he needs to when he's ready, and
Right.
that's a
Mhm.
good thing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a great thing. I think that whole idea of, oh, boys don't cry, I think
Yes.
that
Oh
did a
my! I wish we
whole
can
lot
get
of
past that.
damage.
Yes.
Yeah, that did a whole lot of damage because it's okay uh, for boys to cry. It's okay for boys to express themselves because, as you said, John, we're all humans
Hmm.
and we
Of course, yeah.
all experience the same human emotions. Like you said, it comes out differently, but when Rock was talking about suppressing and suppressing and suppressing. Here's the thing about that: you are now becoming one of those pressure cookers,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
because whatever you suppress and attempt to keep inside does not stay there forever. It's going to come out some way, somehow. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a
Yep.
matter of, is it going to come out in a healthy way, or is it going to come out in an unhealthy way? And the unhealthy way is usually with anger and aggression and all of that sort of thing. So I think it is very, very healthy to get things out as much as you can in a very healthy way with someone who is safe
Mm-hmm.
and that you can count on and who won't judge you.
Mm-hmm. That part.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned the part about not judging. So I think a lot of the reasons why men tend to suppress their emotions so often is because we are we believe that it may be used against us, and oftentimes it is. And sometimes it's by other men.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's by our friends, even our loved ones, where it's turned around on us. So we're hesitant to show that side of us sometimes because we have that pent up fear that
Mm,
will be viewed as weak and treated as such.
Mm.
So I think that's something that has its roots in history, and it's carried on through years and years. And we teach our younger men, don't let them see you cry. Don't show weakness to them, because we think that if we show ourselves as weak, the people around us are going to take advantage of us or use it against us or view us negatively. And sometimes it does happen.
yeah.
So I think men are selective in terms of who they let their guard down around.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to cry in front of anybody. If we feel ourselves about to cry, we're going to hold it back unless we
In a
are
safe space.
completely overcome with emotion or feel like I can cry in front of you
Because it's a
and be
safe
okay.
space. And you know
Do,
something,
do you
John?
do you
But
Unfortunately, too many of our women,
uh,
black women,
talk about it.
do not
Hmm.
allow our men to have that safe space.
Yeah.
Right.
Earlier we talked about the word punk. Too
Mm,
many women will
Hmm.
say, "Oh, he's a punk because he's showing his emotions." That is a lie,
Hmm.
and we need to stop with that. So
absolutely.
most men don't feel like they have a safe space,
Right.
and it's sad.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I will say, I do think showing too much of emotion in certain settings can make you come off as a punk.
Hmm.
But it's difficult to navigate when you're man, because there's no
That's
guidebook
right.
on when and where to show your emotions, and you don't know what's the wrong place to show it until you show it,
Hmm.
and then you get treated like a punk.
Yeah.
but
So it's
demographic matters as well. I mean, Brooklyn is a tough city. And when you go to these schools or these junior high schools and high schools, it's not made for the weak.
Yeah.
hmm
My mom really prepared me. She was just like, listen, I mean, she never put me in a setting that if I felt, scared about something that she would call me a punk. But she was just like, no, you got to defend yourself.
exactly.
Hmm.
You got to defend yourself. They hit you. You know how we used to. Well, my mom used to think we was crazy because when you say you hit me first, my mother be like, no, you hit them first. We ain't supposed to hit you. But no, she's never. I don't understand the psychology of adults calling children a punk when they're children.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It really doesn't make sense. But you most people, most of the toughest fighters will tell you that they're afraid before they get into a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, they'll come
Absolutely.
out victorious, but they're still willing to fight.
Hmm. Hmm.
A lot of us are afraid to get hit.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
It can
know.
happen to anybody.
I know. Absolutely. So wow, I can't believe it's already 8:02,
Wow.
and this has been a really wonderful, wonderful conversation. And as I said, sometimes when I'm walking the social media streets, something will pique my interest, and I now want to talk about it. I'm glad that you all were here to help me unpack some of this and to have a deeper conversation about it. So, as we are coming to a close tonight, what might be your final words to share regarding this topic? And no particular order, anybody who wants to go.
I want to, like Anisi said, get. I would hope that eventually we'll get away from the stigma of real men don't cry, real men don't feel or show emotions. Like that doesn't make you a woman or less of a man. Like you are still a human being, and
Mm,
just I hope that the generation coming up realizes that suppressing those things not only does something to you, emotionally, but it can have physical manifestations as well. There's all sorts of ways that can come out. And like Mom said, eventually it's going to come out, whether
mhm.
it's you lashing out at somebody else or lashing out at yourself, and you start abusing drugs and alcohol, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But holding that in does damage, and letting it out does not make you any less of a man.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Um,
Words?
so one thing mothers need to, my belief, they need to show their daughters, teach their daughters, educate their daughters on not to speak that language
Mm,
against young boys or
mm,
young men,
mhm,
right? The other thing is mothers, single mothers, have to stop putting down the fathers of their children in front of the children, right?
yes.
Because all it's just a continuation of what's going on.
Mhm,
And people have to understand it takes two to tango. So it's
mhm,
not just him. There, or it's not just her. There is an accountability. And I think that once people begin to take that accountability, the generations that are now coming behind us will do better.
mm. It's good. Yeah.
So I
Uh,
got, I guess, words for both the women and the men among us, people that are watching. I don't know if you get millions of viewers, but maybe one day. But I think for the elder women that are raising these young men, they need to realize that you cannot teach a man how to be fully masculine because you're simply a woman. It's not going to happen. You can show him what you believe a masculine man to be,
Right.
but you're going to miss some aspects of it.
Mhm,
Just nature, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's how I view
mhm,
things. And for the men, particularly the young ones, you need to humble yourself and follow a strong masculine man before you can start acting like one.
mhm,
That's I think what Rock was talking about earlier. Is these young men think they got it all figured out, but you don't. And I'm sure there was a point in my life where I thought I had it all figured out, but at the same time, I was able to sit in the position of being a follower before I can be a leader. I had a North Star to follow. You and Dad had your problems, but I still had that strong man in my life. His presence was always part of my
mhm,
life. I had my teammates, I had my coaches, I had people who can sort of lay the path for me and I can walk it. So as a young man, you have to find that.
mhm,
And it's difficult because there's so many men out there that they're going to lead you astray. You're going to go on the internet and follow a bunch of boneheads. You're going to listen to your friends who are following boneheads on the internet. So you have to be careful and have some degree of discernment, and unfortunately, that doesn't come until you've made some mistakes and followed the wrong
mm,
people. But eventually,
Mhm.
you have to you have to find your your leader and actually humble yourself enough to follow that leader. And then while you're walking your way up, bring some people with you.
Mm,
I like that.
that's
uh,
good, John.
I guess I'm gonna leave off with um, fathers lead your children. Um, the father is to teach the son how to hunt. The mother is to teach the son how to love,
mm,
how to treat a woman.
mhm,
The father is to a daughter is to be her first
mm,
love,
mhm,
and the mother to the daughter is to raise her as the queen that she's meant to be.
mhm.
We need each other.
Good.
It's but fathers, funny enough, I don't know any fathers who don't take care of their kids. I don't have any. that I talk to, deal with, friendships. All my friends are in their kids' lives, whether they're with the mother or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's I guess that's a depiction on my character. I
Mm-hmm.
choose to be with those type of men. I choose to deal with men who don't make excuses on why they can't do for their families.
Mm-hmm.
So, any man who wanna be around me, you gotta step your game up.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
Wow, I gotta say, this has been a wonderful, amazing, enlightening conversation, and I appreciate you all so, so very much for being here uh, to share this conversation with me tonight, because I think it's one that needs to be had um, in an environment that, at least from my perspective, is healthy and balanced, and not bashing, not judging, not criticizing, but a more informed and enlightening environment. So I appreciate you all for that so, so very much. And anyone who is listening now or later, I want to encourage you. I always forget to say this at the beginning, I say it at the end. Subscribe, like, and share on YouTube, Marriage Beyond the Breach on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and a little bit on TikTok. Trying to increase my TikTok presence, but anywho, I appreciate anyone who's listening at all, and my hope and my prayer is always that you walk away with something, that you hear something that maybe you haven't heard before, that causes you to think a little differently than you did before you listened in on our discussion. So next week we're going to be back again, and I'm going to be talking about performative healing. Now, if you're not sure what that is, tune in next week and find out, because we're going to have a whole podcast to talk about performative healing, because that's something that, again, I see a lot of on these social media streets. Yeah, I know I walk on these social media streets quite a bit these days. So, anywho, thank you all. God bless you. And I will see you all next week. Oh, thanks, Nick. Oh, Nick was still here for the whole program. Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate you, my sister. Nicole is my sister from another mister. We did nursing together, and now I'm retired, and she's going to be retired one of these good old days. So, anywho, I love you all, and I will see you on